Last year, I had the opportunity to do something that I had always wanted to do for a very long time. I took a 3 month sabbatical from work and moved to Japan to live, not permanently, not as a student, not because I had a job there, but simply because I wanted to experience everyday life in Japan for myself. I had already been to Japan so many times before. I had already visited places such as Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, Fukuoka, Hokkaido, Tohoku, and so on. But every trip eventually ended in the same way. I would get on a plane, fly back to Singapore, and think to myself, I wonder what it would be like if I could stay here for longer. 3 months is not enough to become a local, but it's long enough for the excitement of traveling to fade. And once that happens, you begin to notice different things. You stop seeing Japan as a tourist and start seeing it as a place where people live their everyday lives. Before moving to Japan, I think I had unconsciously made the same mistake that many others have made before. I thought that Japan was just Tokyo, more specifically Shibuya, Shinjuku, Akihabara, Ginza, and Asakusa, with bright lights, crowded stations, endless excitement, and so on. But after a few weeks of living in Japan, I realized something. Most of Japan is not like that at all. Most days are not spent at famous attractions. Most days look surprisingly ordinary. People going to work, shopping for groceries, waiting for trains, walking their dogs, going about their everyday routines. And strangely enough, I actually found that to be quite comforting to me. Japan did not feel like a giant theme park anymore. It felt like a real place, a place where people simply live their lives. That was probably the first major lesson that I learned. The version of Japan that we see online is only a small part of the country. And I think that's true for many places in life. We often see the highlights, the exciting moments, the things that look good in photos, but very few people show the ordinary parts, the daily routines, the grocery shopping, the commute to work, the quiet evenings at home, and so on. Living in Japan reminded me that those moments are not interruptions to life, they are just life as it is. And somehow, seeing Japan in its most ordinary form made me appreciate it even more. The second thing that I learned surprised me even more. The things that I enjoyed the most are not the things that I had expected at first. Before arriving, I imagined myself spending every day exploring, visiting new places, taking day trips, constantly doing something exciting. But eventually, my routine became surprisingly simple. I would go to the gym, buy groceries, cook, practice piano, take a walk around the neighborhood, maybe stop by a convenience store on the way home, and somehow this became some of the happiest memories that I had. There was something peaceful about having nowhere in particular to be, no rush, no pressure to maximize every day, just enjoying ordinary life. That was the point that I realized I did not just enjoy traveling to Japan, I also enjoy living here. Before going to Japan, I had this idea and expectation that happiness had to come from doing something special. visiting somewhere new, achieving something, constantly moving forward. But during those 3 months, some of my most favorite days were the ones where nothing particularly exciting happened. I wake up, go to the gym, buy groceries, practice piano, cook dinner, and somehow feel completely content. That was a strange feeling because back in Singapore, I often feel the pressure to be productive, even during my off days, to be working towards something, to make every single weekend count. But Japan taught me that there is also value in simply enjoying the day that you are already having. I have always enjoyed traveling alone, traveling solo, but spending 3 months in Japan taught me something new about solitude. A lot of people hear 3 months alone and immediately assume that it must have been lonely. But honestly, I rarely felt lonely. And to be honest, I was a little bit surprised by that. Before leaving Singapore for the 3 months stay in Japan, I wondered whether 3 months might feel too long, whether I would get bored, whether I would start counting down the days until I return home. But that never really happened. Instead, I found myself settling into a rhythm, a routine, and somewhere along the way, I realized that being comfortable alone is a skill, not because you stop needing people, but because you learn how to enjoy your own company. I think many of us spend so much time surrounded by noise, notifications, and obligations and responsibilities that we rarely get the chance to simply sit with ourselves. Those 3 months gave me that opportunity. There were certainly quiet moments, but quiet does not automatically mean lonely. Some of my favorite memories were incredibly simple. Sitting in a restaurant all by myself, taking a train to somewhere with no real plan, walking through a neighborhood at night all by myself, looking around in a supermarket. Those moments taught me something that I still carry with me today. Being alone and being lonely are not the same thing. Sometimes being alone gives you space to think, space to reflect, space to appreciate things that you might otherwise overlook. And I think Japan is particularly good at creating these kinds of moments. Of course, living in Japan also reminds me of something else important. No country is perfect. I think that one reason why people become disappointed when they move somewhere new is because they expect the place to solve all of their existing problems. But every country has inconveniences, every city has frustrations, every lifestyle comes with trade offs. Japan doesn't magically make life perfect. I still had responsibilities, I still had worries, I still had bad days. What changed was not the absence of problems, it was the environment that I experienced those problems in. And that's an important distinction. When you are traveling, it's easy to see only the good parts, but living somewhere is different. You begin to notice the inconveniences as well. Apartments can be small, bureaucracy can be frustrating at times, language barriers still exist, especially when it comes to formal and business Japanese. Trains can be crowded, some things will take much longer than expected, but that is okay because the goal isn't to find a perfect country. The goal is to understand a place honestly for what it is. I think living in Japan helps me to appreciate both its strengths and its imperfections. When my 3 month stay came to an end, people often ask me, what was your most favorite part? And honestly, I never knew how to answer this question because it wasn't just one attraction, it wasn't one city, it wasn't even one specific memory. The thing that I value most was the perspective that I had gained during the 3 month stay. Living in Japan reminded me that life doesn't always need to be exciting in order to be meaningful. Some of the happiest days were the most ordinary ones: buying groceries, practicing piano, going for a walk, taking a train somewhere. Those moments taught me to slow down and appreciate everyday life a bit more. And that's probably the biggest thing that I brought back with me. Not souvenirs, not photos, but a different way of looking at life. When I first went to Japan, I thought I was traveling to learn more about Japan. And yes, I did. But looking back, I think I learned just as much about myself. I learned what kind of lifestyle I enjoy. I learned that I value freedom more than status. I learned that I don't need constant excitement to be happy. And perhaps most importantly of all, I learned that a meaningful life doesn't have to look impressive from the outside. Sometimes it's enough to wake up, go for a walk, eat good food, spend time on your hobbies, and end the day feeling at peace. This might sound simple, but I think that's a lesson that many of us spend years trying to learn. 3 months is not enough to become Japanese. It wasn't enough to completely understand the country, but it was enough to change how I think about everyday life. And for that, I will always be grateful.